Our guest today is State Representative John Payne of Hershey, a very active member known primarily for liquor control committee membership, but also active on the Commerce Committee and the Tourism and Recreational Development. But let's go back and start with liquor control. You have a bill, as we speak, poised in the Senate for action. What's it look like? What does that bill do right now, and what's its prospects?
Well, House Bill 148 started in the House as basically taking the happy hour provisions and saying, why are we capping this at 2 hours a day, 14 hours a week, and let's just remove the limitations. It allowed 3 bottles of wine could be taken home from a restaurant with your meal, and it allowed off-site catering. And that was an important provision because many people have sons or daughters that get married. They go to some off-site. It's catered by somebody. They can't provide the alcohol. The license to provide alcohol is site-specific. So you then have to purchase the alcohol and provide it, and you accept the liability, and you accept guessing whether you bought enough alcohol or not. Those 3 provisions all were the original intent. When it left the House, the 3 bottles of wine were taken out. We had 1 bottle of wine specific to the wine you had with your meal, went to the Senate. That's now been removed. The happy hour is 4 hours, not unlimited. The off-site catering is still there, and they've added some other stipulations on beer and LCB requirements that came out of the Philadelphia raids that happened about a year and a half ago, where they confiscated all these craft beers, only to find out 98% of them were legal, but the beers they confiscated, they left sit out, and the beer spoiled and went bad, and the taverns and restaurants all lost that revenue, not only from selling the beer, but from the product itself being spoiled. That's been incorporated to 148. It's passed out of committee. It's supposed to be passed by the full Senate early this week so that we can pass at the end of the week before we get the budget done and are done for June.
That's unusual, it seems to me, that we're getting a lot of action on liquor control bills this year. Is there a reason for that? Yeah,
that's a credit to Chairman Taylor and Chairman Pippy. Chairman Taylor basically sat down with the committee in the beginning and said, look, we used to pass 1 bill with 50 amendments. Let's pass 50 bills with no amendments. Get them over to the Senate. Let the Senate pick and choose what bills they like out of the House, incorporate it into one omnibus bill, and send it back for concurrence. To their credit, that's exactly what we've done. We passed a lot of liquor bills. We have a lot more that are on the agenda to be passed. And Senator Pippy, Chairman Pippy, has basically taken and incorporated some of those into one major vehicle to send it back.
Let me circle back to House Bill 148, your bill. You've summarized the features of the bill. It's likely to pass the Senate this week and come back to the House. What will happen there?
We're hoping for a concurrence vote, and we can send it right to the governor.
Okay. One other bill that you've authored with Representative Mark Mustio is pretty far-reaching in the sense of operation of the state store system and expanding the number of outlets that could sell liquor and wine, but without going into supermarkets or other kind of stores. Can you summarize that bill for us?
Yeah, quickly, it does 3 key things. Assuming that a privatization bill is not going to sell every store to one person for a large amount of money, and we're going to have multiple people owning it. Mark and I thought the best thing to do would be to let our beer distributors, who are struggling anyhow, family owned and operated in the communities, everybody knows where they're at and who they are. They understand the liquor system, they understand the background checks, the license fees, LCB, enforcement, they have rack storage, cold storage. I mean, it was just a perfect fit. Somebody once said that privatization originally was trying to build a new highway and a new turf. We're just trying to take the existing distribution center for beer and widen it to include wine and spirits.
So beer distributors could become essentially package stores like in other states?
Correct.
Would that raise a lot of money for the state?
Yeah, a huge amount. It's basically the distributors themselves would pay a license fee to start. They want to actually, for 3 years, and if they want to stay on it, they'd buy the license, and that fee would be set at the end of those 3 years. And a wholesaler who would also include in their wholesale region, they'd have the $50 million license fee to control the same region they now control with beer, they can control with wine and with spirits.
Now, one of the concerns might be that you'd be creating 1,200 new outlets to sell liquor and wine. Have you gotten any negative feedback on that aspect?
No, the negatives always come from the same groups, but that would stand true with privatization of the 600 and some stores. If you privatize them, they're going to be in Walmart's, Kmart's, Wegmans, whoever the high bid is for. Right now we're hearing, I haven't seen the bill, but we're hearing it'll be capped at 10, which could be confusing because you could be buying beer in Philly from one group, Harrisburg from a different store group, and Pittsburgh from a different store group. With ours, we're putting it in the same 1,200 locations that are there. We're not really looking to expand as much as the stores, increasing those amounts. Some of those beer distributors would say no, we're not interested. Others would end up, we'd close some state stores. State stores that are, we have 60 some stores that are losing money in the system right now. One of the things that has to happen, regardless of whether we privatize state stores or not, is we have to allow every store to be open on Sunday. No business is going to buy this system and keep 75% of the stores closed on a Sunday. That's crazy. Nobody's going to close their stores at 9 o'clock. If you're paying that money to buy it and you and I own one of those stores, I want to be open 24 hours a day. I need to make as much money as I can off my investment. And the third is the markup. We're capped at 30%. We in a state store can't charge more than 30% of the cost for a product. You can't do a buy one, get one free, buy one, get one half price. Well, there's nowhere else in the country in the enterprise system that we have that you don't do that kind of stuff. So if we're going to really privatize them, then let's privatize them.
Now, you've circulated a memorandum to your colleagues for co-sponsors. What kind of response have you been getting?
Very positive, actually. Most people are up for a look at privatization of some sort. They're a little concerned about privatizing to one big person who would bid them all. They didn't like that idea. They're concerned about capping it at 10. Who would get the bottom 20 stores? Who would buy the worst 20? Ours just goes to the beer distributors. They're there. They're in the communities. There's 1,200 of them. They're good family jobs. I mean, we would clearly save the beer distributors for the next foreseeable future on their ability to prosper. And also, some of those people who don't want to do that would be able to sell that D license. And there are companies from outside this state who would come in, buy that D license, and put in a superstore. Much like a Target or one of those stores where you have 15 ounces of beer, 15 ounces of wine, and 15 ounces of hard spirits. It's not the beer distributor that we think of in our mind right now, but that license becomes valuable to them.
And does your bill, your Mark Mustio's bill, does it sell the state stores as well, or it leaves that moot?
Leaves that mute because our issue is we think the state store system will take care of itself. When you open up 1,200 of these stores, and some of them are the larger stores, a superstore, if you will, and a block down the road's a little old state store. It's been there for 20 years. It's going to go by the wayside. Those that lose money will go by the wayside. Ironically, I'm involved in a lot of the liquor bills, as you indicated. My youngest daughter called me when it first came out and said, "You're talking about Thirsty Thursdays on the radio and stuff." And she said, I'm laughing because this is to my dad who doesn't drink. And, my kids never saw me drink at home. I just didn't do it in front of them. And that doesn't mean that I'm not knowledgeable of the subject or I'm not interested in the subject. You don't have to drink to know what you're talking about.
One of the other bills that you've sponsored this year relates to the infamous Johnstown flood tax. What would that bill be doing?
Well, again, I have two that combine. It eliminates the Johnstown flood tax and it removes that 30% cap. Basically, I'm saying let's run the stores, regardless if we own them or it's privatized, like a business. You walk into any sporting goods place and you buy a baseball cap or a football jersey or a racing jersey, you're not paying 30% markup. I mean, a baseball cap's probably 200–300% markup. You have to let the market go where it will and let that price go within that system. And to cap $5 bottle of wine, we make a 30% markup. That's $1.50. We can't be paying our overhead for $1.50. So we lose money in that when we're making it somewhere else. But why is that? Shouldn't we be making as much money as we can and turning that money over to the general fund to lower our cost of doing government, to lower things for seniors, to lower property tax, to lower all of our expenses that we have? If we're going to own a liquor system, then let's make the most money we can.
On the Johnstown flood tax, some of our listeners may not be aware it's an 18% tax on liquor sold in Pennsylvania. You would roll it back, reducing the price of liquor and wine then, right?
That's correct. And studies have proven if you take the 18% tax off, you still have the 6% sales tax. We would increase volume and we'd be more competitive, especially for the stores that are in the border part of our state where they've got to compete with surrounding states. And the 18% for the Johnstown flood tax is not going to a fund to help victims in Pennsylvania of floods or tornadoes or hurricanes. You might understand that if that's where it was still going. It's going into that sucking sound called the general fund, which is just disappearing and nobody can find it.
Wouldn't be a good interview if I didn't pin you down on something. As a legislator from Dauphin County, you and your constituents have a vested interest in the financial welfare of the city of Harrisburg. Act 47 is a method of the city trying to work its way out of debt. One of your colleagues, State Senator Jeff Piccola, has threatened to sort of take over the city if the city doesn't deal positively with its debt situation. How do you feel about this, representing Hershey and other Dauphin County communities?
Well, we don't have, I don't have any share of the city as far as representation because the county is involved, because the county commissioners backed up the bond debt. One of the things I find frustrating when I watch the news is that the city council's making comments like it's time for the county to feel the pain. It's time for residents outside the city to feel the pain. I would say to you this, if the county's going to participate in saving the city, then the county gets a vote. Somebody in that authority, somebody in that board has to be appointed by the county. Maybe more than one vote has to be from the county. Whatever the proportionate debt service is, we've got to take it out of the city's hands because they've proven that they're not able to figure out this crisis. I think that's why they hired the Act 47 board to come in and tell them what to do. Now they've told them what to do and they don't like that answer. So if they're going to come to the county, I want the county to have a vote in the matter, not just have us pay for the problem.
Well, the Act 47 group did suggest that the county would be contributing to the city's welfare to the tune of like $2 million a year from the...
yeah, but paying without representation is not acceptable.
Okay. Yeah. And then the other aspect in terms of what the county people pay, if you live in the county, your trash has to go to the incinerator, right?
That's the way it's currently set up.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So you are paying a higher tipping fee to keep the incinerator afloat as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're actually supporting me. The county residents are already paying their fair share.
Yeah.
We're paying a higher tipping fee due to the mismanagement of the incinerator. So now if they want to come back and have us pay more, I'm a firm believer that the county gets at least one, if not two board members to have a vote at that table.
So how long before you think Senator Piccola takes some action? Has he talked to you already, perhaps?
No, he hasn't. No, he's introduced a bill in the Senate. I would imagine until that bill can be moved out of the Senate committee and out of the Senate, at least for me, I'm not going to focus on that particular issue.
Thank you very much. We've been talking to State Representative John Payne from Hershey, representing parts of Dauphin County, and it's been good to have you here today.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very
See
much.